Hey everyone, welcome back to the lab. In this video, we're going to be talking about how to convert a string to an int in F#. So in WebDev, there's a lot of raw string to value conversion. This is because, like it or not, most network communication is done via raw strings. And so to be able to leverage the power of F#'s type system, we need to safely convert these into the type our domain expects and handle errors if and when they occur. And honestly, this is where a lot of the complexity in web dev in general comes from. This is like the network gap, the network gulch, if you will. And so finding easy ways to do this, safe ways to do this, can make your systems a lot better and easier to work with. And so in this post, we are going to explore a simple method for safely parsing an int from a raw string in F#. All right, converting a string to an int in F#. So for this example, we'll be using the built-in int32.tryparse. And if you think you're going to have like a long or something, you can do int64, stuff like that. Similar API. But I like this version for a few reasons. The first one is that it's built in, so you don't have to build it yourself. It's reasonably fast. You can reasonably expect it won't change. So pretty solid choice overall. The next one is that it uses value-based errors. And I'm a big fan of value-based errors. I really do not like exception-based control flow. That's basically like, oh, this small thing's wrong, I'm just going to go die, which just makes not really any logical sense in most cases. And so by using value-based errors, you're making it very explicit that errors can happen, and the truth is that they will happen, and so you might as well make this explicit so you can handle it explicitly. Finally, it has a nice-ish API. It's not exactly what I would use in F#, but I'll show you how I make it a little bit better. So it's more reasonable, and you don't have to do any try catch to option kind of stuff. So that makes it pretty decent too. And so you can use this function directly, and it's fine. It's fine. But I like to wrap it in an option because I do think it pipelines a little bit better. And so it gives it this nice-ish API that you might actually want to use more in your code. And so here it is. It's very, very simple. And I'll actually open this up in Replit so we can kind of run it and also get some syntax highlighting. Okay, so here we are in Replit, and we can see that I've got my function. It's just taking in an s, which is a string, and it's just going to return in an option. I really like options and results, very easy to pipeline, very easy to make things explicit, and the type checker will help you with this. So I think it just leads to better code overall. And so here we'll take it in, and then we're just going to have success result. This is returning like a tuple, and then we're just going to match on success and convert this into either some if it was successful or none if it's not. And then to kind of show you what this looks like, we've just got a simple main function here. I've got some test cases. So this is a real parsable int that's in string form, and this is obviously not parsable. And so we'll kind of see what happens here. And so we'll just map over the test cases, and then we're going to call our helper function here to get the result, and then we're going to show what we get for each input. So I'll run it here, and we can see that for 1, 2, 3, it was able to get this, so it's sum 1, 2, 3, and then for I am a string, we get an output of none because it just wasn't parsable. So very easy to use, very simple. Okay, while we're here, I did want to talk about some alternative approaches. These are probably the more common ones you'll see in Google searches. They're the more common ones that I found myself. And, there's always going to be many other ways to do any one thing in programming. And, each of them are just going to have their own pros and cons. And so the more popular ones that I found to do this conversion mostly rely on knowing for a fact that your string is parsable to an int and or being okay throwing hard, aka having an exception. Now, I personally don't like these. I would argue that if you have a string, you cannot know for sure that it is int parsable. So you should just use the error safe method to make sure that you're explicitly handling this edge case, because if something bad can happen, it will happen. But I understand there's situations that you might not want this, like if you just have a stupid little script and you want to move fast, or for whatever reason you just don't care. To each their own. So I just wanted to, call these out. Some common ones here are just to take your string and then just pipe it into the int function here. This will just try to convert it directly. And then basically on int32 and all these numbers, there's just a parse method. So not try parse, but just parse. And it is basically the same thing. But if it fails, it throws. But again, I don't like these. I think you can't know for sure that a string is actually the thing you want. And so you might as well just handle it. Next. So there are infinite ways to do any one thing. This is just a method I found works well. And I found that me putting out the kind of form that I use, I often get really great feedback from y'all on different, better ways to do the same thing. So question for you is, how are you doing type conversions in F#? What's your go-to helper method for this? Maybe there's a built-in library. Maybe there's like a little function that, is already in the standard library that I haven't seen yet. This is always really helpful for me. If you like this post, you might also like build a simple F# web API with Giraffe. You might be interested in how I got interested in F#, coming from several different languages and finally landing on F# as a really good balance between all the things I liked and avoiding things that I didn't. And finally, you might be interested in why F# is a fun programming language. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.